Good morning. Day one of the national lockdown here in New Zealand. So I thought I'd share with you how I whatu. I do a lot of piupiu at the moment, and so whatu is the one thing that I spend most of my time with, apart from making the actual whenu for the piupiu. So normally you would be using all natural materials, aho made of muka, but I use most weavers really who make piupiu on a large scale use natural jute twine. I buy these balls and I leave the plastic around it and drag the string out from the middle, so that the string it just makes it easier to take it out, but how much you want and cut it, rather than having this open and unwinding it from the outside. So that's a little tip on the side. And because we're using this rather than the shorter length of the aho, we can make them as long as we like without having to add on. It sort of saves a couple of steps. So I'll show you how to use both actually in a minute. Rightio, so we have a couple of aho. There's two ways of how to do this. So one is just to knot two together and then add and knot another two, so having four. Or the way I like it is just to cross them over and then fold the one that's crossing over into half and sort of having them like a little loop. If you're using aho, the idea is to have them not the same length, because you will have to add on. When you add on all at the same time, it becomes a bit too thick. So ideally what you want to do is have them a little bit different length. So these aren't the best quality, so apologies. I actually use these for handles instead. And then you use either your pukinikini or piupiu strips or whatever else you can whatu, and you lay them across. So you have two at the bottom, and you have your thumb firmly on it. See that there's that little loop that we made earlier. It's easier later on with the string, you can see it better with the jute. And then you bring these two from that side over, put your thumb on it right away, right? So you have now all four going in that direction. And then you grab the ones on the top, hold firmly, and then with your fingers you kind of take them on the outside, the ones that were at the bottom, one on the right, one on the left, slide them slightly down and lock them in. Put your thumb on it, hold it in place. So that is firm now. Right, use the next one, add it in. Right, keep them slightly apart, keep these ones. Come over, put your thumb on it straight away, hold them, and then if you hold them like this, you have your index finger and your thumb free to move the outside ones up, slide it up, and lock it in. So again, on top, these two are at the bottom, these two at the top. Grab the ones from the top, slide them through, hold them, index finger, thumb, moving the outside ones, go in. So it's hard to see because they're the same color. Here we go. So with the jute, so we've got two lengths of string, lay them across, hook them in, right? So that's the easy part. And then we take, lay it right across. So we have these two at the bottom at the moment, and these two at the top, right? These ones come over, and you sort of, without really taking your hands off, you pull these across. So they're now basically in between these other ones. Hold them like so. Grab the one from the right, the one from the left. Slide your finger down, and that kind of really locks it in. Put your thumb back on, and now you start again, have two at the bottom and two at the top. Add your next one in. Again. Slide it across, put your thumb on it. So see how this is really tight? Hold it. Grab the one from the bottom, or from the right rather, or the top or whatever. That one. And slide them down. Again. Go. Try and keep them all in the same. Right. Hold it. Up. So at normal speed. So when you add these all in, basically like a looping kind of technique. I've seen it all over the world, really. There are plenty of other cultures who use the same technique to bind things together. Right, so this is what it looks like. Right? Now, some people find it easier if they put it on the table and kind of have it like this. I don't know, I find it more complicated, but you know, someone finds it easier because you know they keep them apart, put something on, right? Especially if it's wider material, and then you can grab those and take them over, and then you take the outside ones and somehow put them back on top. I find it way more complicated. See, I really struggle with this, but I have seen people doing it that way. So I have been taught completely differently, and I can't remember how I've been taught, but this is the way I do it. I just basically hold it in my hand and just go for it. And when the jute becomes a bit knotted, I grab a peg. There we go. Peg it so everything stays in place. And then I just sort of straighten it out again. And then I continue with it. Alright. The next one in, and I always move my hand, so I don't keep my hand across the whole thing. So I don't do it this way. Eventually, if I do something long, it will become way too much. So what I'll do is, while I'm in this stage, when it's really locked in, I can take this hand off, and I just move it in a little bit further, put my thumb back on the end of here. And there we are. I'm just adding these in. So again, one comes across, two come down. These two go in between the ones that are at the bottom, and they become the new top. You can make this with two different colors, so you have a two-tone thing. Taniko is the next step up from this, where you basically twist the colors And there's plenty of workshops and online classes for those, so I'm not even going into them. But just for a simple, straightforward whatu, that is the way to go. Okay, and just once you get a bit of a practice, you can do this in your sleep. Now, the one thing that a lot of people do when they start doing this, they somehow cross these. You know, so instead of coming down in between them, they might have somehow crossed them. I don't even know how to do this. And it doesn't look much of a difference. But an experienced weaver can tell the difference. And so famously, when I started doing this in my class, I don't know, 13 years ago, my tutor would come past when we whatued our first piupiu, and she'd come past and she would point to one spot and say, "There's a mistake, undo." 15 times. Which is why now I can do it in my sleep. It's practice. It's not something that comes overnight. So hopefully that was a little bit of a help for you guys. And you've got 4 weeks to practice. Show me how you go.